Backed by Shiite militias on the ground and U.S. air support, Iraqi forces stormed to the southern edge of Fallujah. Fallujah is believed to be the staging ground for many, if not all, of recent attacks in Baghdad. And as Iraqi troops move closer to recapturing the city from the Islamic State, a wave of bombings in the capital, claimed by the jihadist group, killed 24 people and injured more than 50 others. Thought to be an attempt by IS to distract the attention of security forces away from the front lines. The bombings targeted commercial areas in Shia neighborhoods, as well as the predominantly Sunni suburb of Tarmiya, 50 kilometers north of the capital. Iraq's counterterrorism service, a group of elite commandos, are said to be leading a three-pronged assault against Fallujah to recapture the city from the estimated 1,000 IS militants still inside.
What I want to affirm today is that the operation is going according to the plan. Morale is high, and what we have achieved so far is beyond what we had expected.
Fallujah is a city that looms large in modern jihadist mythology since the 2004 battles between U.S. forces and al-Qaeda in Iraq, the insurgent group which later morphed into the Islamic State. It's a bastion of Sunni Muslim jihadists and was the first city to fall to the Islamic State group in January of 2014. At least 50,000 civilians are reported to be trapped inside the city by the group. And according to unconfirmed reports, some men who tried to flee were executed by the group.
We're accepting of all of this, thank God. We have fled Daesh. They let us starve and made us thirsty. They took the men, they kidnapped them or killed them. We went to ask about our men. They said go home and they will return to you. But it's all lies. They don't return the living ones or the dead.
Meanwhile, in northern Iraq, Kurdish Peshmerga forces, with U.S. support, began an offensive on Sunday to retake areas east of Mosul, the largest city under control of IS militants in both Iraq and Syria. The operation is reported to involve around 5,500 Peshmerga fighters, as well as servicemen from the U.S.-led coalition. Territory under IS control has been steadily shrinking for months. The group is currently fighting twin offensives, one in their heartland in Syria and one in Fallujah, marking some of the most serious ground efforts against the Islamic State since the group declared its self-styled caliphate, straddling the Syrian-Iraqi border in 2014.
And Anna Arnheim now joining us in studio. Good evening, Anna.
Good evening.
As you detailed in your report, this battle for Fallujah spreading outside of its borders, and many of the commanders and the Iraqi forces in this coalition that is working to retake the city continue sending these very positive messages. But is that the scene on the ground?
It is. Actually, you have Iran's Major General Qasem Soleimani back on the ground in Fallujah today leading the offensive. Now you have hundreds of thousands of Shia militias in Iraq, a good number of them taking part in the battle for Fallujah. And this de facto cooperation, you could say, between the Shia militias on the ground led by Tehran and Qasem Soleimani and getting help by the U.S. air support, that's a major deal. You have Iran and the United States working together. And while that may be downplayed per se in the media, it makes a big difference on the ground. And you can see they've really been gaining ground against IS in Fallujah. Now, at the same time, local police said that the Islamic State has put up dozens of obstacles in the city, IEDs, booby traps, exactly what it did in Ramadi. So before they can continue to gain more ground, they have to clear those areas. They have to take out those IEDs, make sure that there are no civilians left there, and if they are, take them out, and then pursue more ground. Now, at the same time, as I said in my piece, there are still attacks happening in Baghdad by the Islamic State. Now, that could be to distract the security forces, and it also could be to instill fear in the population, saying, you might be fighting us in Fallujah, but we're not that far away. We're still able to come in and carry out deadly attacks.
Which is something that we've also seen with the Islamic State on a larger scale, where they're losing ground in Iraq and Syria, so they are extending out of those countries to European nations and establishing fear there. Now, Anna, also in neighboring Syria, another fight to regain territory.
Right, and in that offensive, it's the Kurds, the SDF, the Kurdish Arab Alliance. Now, that offensive is also not to retake the city itself, like in Iraq, where the Kurds are fighting on the front to regain territory near Mosul. They're not actually going to Mosul. Same with Raqqa. They're not going to the city of Raqqa. The SDF is composed of mainly 91% Kurds, and they know that there's hostility between the Kurds and the Arabs, so they don't want to take that city back. Now, there's another offensive going on to retake the city of Tabqa, which was taken by the Islamic State in 2014. That is actually, there's kind of a race between the Syrian army and the Kurds to retake that key town.